What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, where we dive deep into the biggest games, sharpest lines, and most profitable betting angles in sports. Today, we're breaking down Game 1 of the American League Championship Series between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays, going down Sunday, October 12, 2025, with first pitch scheduled for 8:03 p.m. Eastern on Fox. The stage is set, the tension's high, and this one's shaping up to be a heavyweight fight in the Great North. Let's set the scene. The Blue Jays come into this series as roughly minus 165 favorites, and it's not hard to see why. They've been sitting at home, fully rested, waiting to see who would survive that five-game slugfest between Seattle and Detroit. Meanwhile, the Mariners arrive in Toronto on fumes, emotionally drained and physically taxed, after surviving a 15-inning marathon in Game 5 against the Tigers. That thriller ended 3-2, staying under the total of 5.5 despite the game going deep into extras. It was one of the most dramatic wins of the postseason so far, but it came at a cost. The Mariners' bullpen, completely gutted. They used every arm in that series except Bryce Miller, who now gets the ball for Game 1. Seattle ran through the full rotation and pen just to escape Detroit. George Kirby threw a gem in Game 5, and even guys like Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, and Bizardo, who pitched in all 5 games, were called upon to eat high-pressure innings. By the end, they were running on pure adrenaline. And that's the problem here. The emotional high of a walk-off playoff win often leads to a classic letdown spot, especially when you've been traveling and your bullpen's been chewed through. Seattle has been resilient all season, but they've also been 3 games under .500 on the road, and that's not the kind of stat you want heading into a raucous environment like Rogers Center. Now, across the diamond, the Blue Jays enter this series in near-perfect position. They took care of business against the Yankees with little resistance, advancing cleanly while keeping their pitching rotation fresh. They've had several days off to reset, refocus, and realign their bullpen, a massive edge this deep into October. They'll hand the ball to Kevin Gausman, who's been a rock for Toronto all season. Sure, his one start against Seattle during the regular year wasn't his best. He allowed a few runs and didn't have his sharpest command. But this is a different stage, and he's in his comfort zone. The Jays are also one of the most dominant home teams in baseball, with one of the loudest and most hostile playoff atmospheres in the league. On the other side, Bryce Miller draws the Game 1 start for Seattle. The righty has talent, but his matchup history here is brutal. In his lone start against the Blue Jays this season, he got absolutely tagged. 5 innings, 7 earned runs, 8 hits, and a home run allowed. That outing wasn't an anomaly either. Miller has been shaky on the road all year, carrying an ERA north of 5.00 away from home. And while he did appear in the ALDS, going 4.1 innings with 2 earned runs on 4 hits and just 2 strikeouts, it wasn't exactly a confidence-boosting performance. He hasn't found his rhythm in big moments yet, and going up against a Blue Jays lineup that's patient, powerful, and opportunistic could be a tough draw. Toronto's offensive balance is a nightmare matchup for Miller. They're built to punish fastball-heavy pitchers, and Miller leans heavily on that heater. Combine that with a Mariners bullpen that's been taxed to the max. Nearly every high-leverage arm has thrown multiple innings in the last 3 days, and you've got a recipe for late-inning fireworks from the Jays. Seattle will need to get length from Miller just to keep this game respectable, but with his road splits and Toronto's ability to jump on early mistakes, it's tough to see a scenario where that happens. Meanwhile, Gausman thrives in spots like this. At home, under the lights, with his splitter working, he's as reliable as they come. Toronto's rested bullpen behind him gives them multiple shutdown options from the 7th inning on. The contrast in pitching depth here is glaring. Seattle's running on fumes while Toronto's been in cruise control since Wednesday. And when you mix in the emotional rollercoaster the Mariners just went through in that 15-inning epic, this has all the makings of a trap game for them in Game 1. There's no doubt Seattle can compete over the course of this series. Their resilience is unmatched, and their pitching talent runs deep when fully rested. But Game 1 is a different story. The Jays are rested, locked in, and catching a tired opponent who's likely still celebrating Friday night's marathon win. This is the perfect storm for Toronto to strike early, set the tone, and grab control of the ALCS right out of the gate. When you line up the metrics, motivation, and momentum, everything leans Toronto. The Blue Jays moneyline is the play for Game 1. The number might look a little high at -165, but when you factor in Seattle's fatigue, bullpen situation, travel schedule, and Miller's road issues, it's absolutely justified. Expect Gausman to deal, the Jays' offense to grind out timely runs, and Toronto to take a 1-0 series lead heading into Game 2. That's going to do it for this breakdown of Mariners vs. Blue Jays. Game 1 of the ALCS here on Beyond the Box Score. If you enjoyed the analysis, make sure to hit that like button, drop your predictions below, and subscribe so you never miss a pick breakdown like this. We've got more playoff baseball and NFL action coming your way all week long. So stay sharp, stay disciplined, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.